We believe that death is the ultimate silence, the one border that no one can cross. Yet ancient poets would tell us of one mortal who reached deeper than the abyss itself. I'm Nikos, speaking to you from Greece, and today we witness the power of a melody that almost overrode the laws of the universe. This is the tragedy of Orpheus. They say writing is one of the greatest inventions of mankind, for it allowed greatness to endure. Yet even before the first words were ever written, knowledge would live on through the gifts of music. And no mortal was ever as blessed with his gift as Orpheus. Born as a prince in Thrace, the boy was descended from the union between King Oeagrus and Calliope, the muse of epic poetry. Yet some whispers claim his true father was not mortal at all, but Apollo, the god who presided over music, and through it established order across the known world. Thus came to be a child destined to give birth to the most beautiful music the world had ever known. Years passed. Possessing a voice that could captivate the soul, lyrics inspired by the teachings of his mother, and a lyre, said to have been given by Apollo himself, Orpheus's music was so heavenly, the world itself seemed to hold its breath. Wild animals would cease their hunting to lie at his feet. Trees and rocks would cease their stillness and dance around him, while the rivers changed their course just to be closer to his melody. This is why Chiron, the wisest of all the centaurs, instructed Jason to recruit Orpheus as one of the legendary Argonauts. For he knew that, in their task to retrieve the golden fleece, even the strength of Heracles would not be enough to save the heroes from the dreadful sirens. These sea monsters whose song lured sailors to their demise. And just as the centaur foretold, when the ship passed by the deadly creatures, and Orpheus heard their voices, he took up his lyre and played a melody so loud and divine that their bewitching songs were silenced in the ears of his men. Through many more trials and threats, the quest for the Golden Fleece at last came to an end. Each of the Argonauts went his own way, and Orpheus traveled, sharing his heavenly music with the whole world. As he crossed the forests of Thrace, he passed by a group of beautiful wood nymphs. One of them, named Eurydice, was a great admirer of music, and was deeply enchanted by the sound of Orpheus's melodies. The young man too was left captivated by the nymph's beauty. The pair fell deeply in love, and preparation soon began for a wedding that should have been a celebration of pure joy. Yet the fates were sometimes cruel even to the most undeserving of misfortune. The wedding day arrived. Hymenaeus, the god of marriage ceremonies, warned the groom and bride that should they proceed, their union would be short-lived. Yet the enamored couple did not heed the warnings of the god. They wed. It seemed every choice, every step they had taken, was all for the moments they would hold on to each other. Celebrations followed. The bride danced carefree with her fellow nymphs, and for a brief shining moment she was happier than ever. But Aristeus, a rural god, saw her and was instantly captivated by her great beauty. Overcome by desire, he stormed after Eurydice as she frantically fled through the woods to escape. Amidst her panic, she ran through the tall grass, and she did not see that she stepped on a nest of venomous vipers. In a tragic turn of events, a snake, disturbed by her step, struck her ankle. The poison worked instantly. The young woman collapsed, breathless, and her soul departed for the Underworld. When Orpheus found the body of his beloved, he was overtaken with grief. Eurydice's name literally meant white justice, yet nothing about her fate was just. The young man took up his lyre and played a melody so mournful that even the gods wept greatly for them. In utmost despair, he then asked Apollo, his divine father, for guidance. he was determined to attempt what no other mortal could even perceive as possible. To retrieve Eurydice, he asked the god of the sun for instructions on how to enter the very kingdom of Hades. Guided by Apollo, the hero made his way to Cape Matapan, at the southernmost part of the Peloponnese. In a cave he found an entrance to the Underworld, which he crossed with unwavering determination. He walked down the cold, sunless paths until he reached the river Styx. There, Charon, the boatman who ferries the soul of the dead, usually demands a coin for each one, and he allows no living man to pass. But Orpheus played his lyre. The melody softened the heart of the grim ferryman, who agreed to ferry him across the black waters of the river for free. At the gates of the realm stood Cerberus, the monstrous three-headed dog, guardian of the underworld, and son of the dreadful Typhon and Echidna. Yet once again Orpheus did not fight. He sang a lullaby, a quiet, soothing tune that quickly lulled the fearsome beast into a deep slumber. Making his way even deeper, where the cold and darkness seemed to be unbearable, he finally reached the heart of the underworld, and the throne of Hades and his queen. The king of the dead was enraged. He demanded to know why a living man dared to invade his domain. Orpheus responded once again, not with words, but through music. He sang of his love and his loss. His sorrowful melody caused the whole kingdom to stop. For the first time, Tantalus forgot his hunger and thirst. Ixion's flaming wheel ceased spinning, and Sisyphus stopped pushing his boulder to listen. For the first time, the Furies, the goddesses of vengeance, wept. For the first time, even Hades, the god with an iron heart, shed a tear. Moved by the song and the plea of his wife Persephone, he agreed to the impossible. Eurydice would be returned to life. But there was one condition, a seemingly simple test of faith. Orpheus must lead her out. He must walk in front and she would follow. But he must not look back at her until they were both standing in the light of the sun. Relieved, yet still with a glimpse of doubt, Orpheus began his way back. The journey was long. He walked once again through the damp silence and the steep paths that led to the upper world. Yet he could hear nothing behind him. No footsteps, no breathing, just the beating of his own terrified heart. Was she there? Was this just a trick of the gods? With each smile he walked, the urge to turn his head grew stronger. Yet he resisted. Finally the air grew thinner. The light of the upper world began to bleed into the tunnel. He was almost there. He stepped out into the lights, and in that moment, overcome by relief, by excitement, he turned. He saw her. She was there, beautiful and real as ever. But she was not yet in the sun. In the instant their eyes met, the compact was broken. An invincible force pulled her back. He reached out, his arms stretching desperately to catch her, but all he grasped was thin air. Eurydice whispered a final farewell, so faint it barely reached his ears. And then she was gone. She did not blame him. For what could she complain of other than that he had loved her too much? Orpheus tried to rush back to cross the river Styx once again, but this time Charon refused him. The mercy of the gods is rarely given twice. He sat there on the riverbank, weeping for 7 days, without even pausing to eat or rest. Eventually he returned to the mountains of Thrace. For 3 years he lived there, never once touching another woman, though many were the ones who desired him, Instead, he spent his time playing his heavenly music and singing to trees and animals. He sang of Ganymede, that beautiful Trojan prince whom Zeus loved and carried to Olympus. He sang of Pygmalion, the sculptor who loved his own creation and wanted no other woman. He sang of Adonis, the greatest love of Aphrodite, who died and was turned into a flower. Through his melodies, he shared his everlasting grief, focusing on the effects love and loss have on the hearts of gods and mortals alike. His music was so powerful that a huge grove of trees grew around him to hear him play. His own end soon followed. A group of Maenads, the frenzied, wine-drunk followers of Dionysus, came upon him in the woods. Enraged by his refusal to join them, they attacked him with stones. Yet the stones, enchanted by the melody of his lyre, refused to hit him, falling harmlessly at his feet. But the Maenads were many, and they were loud. They began to scream, to beat their drums and blow their horns. Their cacophony drowned out the delicate sound of the lyre. Once the music was silenced, his protection was gone. The stones finally found their mark. The frenzied women descended upon him and tore him apart, their mad laughter echoing to this day. His lyre was then thrown into the river nearby, and its strings continued to vibrate with a mournful sound, bringing all of nature to tears. At the end, Orpheus descended to the Underworld across the river Styx once more, though this time he was not an intruder. And there, in the Elysian fields, he finally found her. They would at last walk together. Sometimes she leads and he follows, sometimes he leads and she follows, but more importantly, Orpheus can look back at her as much as he wants, for he will never lose her again. If you made it this far, I just want to say thank you. It means the world to me to share with you the myths and stories of my homeland. If there's one thing to take from today's tale, let it be this. No matter the outcome, striving for what we love will always be what echoes through eternity. And if you enjoyed this video, please stay tuned for the next episode of Greek Mythology. Until next time, take care.